Hello YouTube, welcome to RC Buggy Bash. I'm Jason and this is Jimmy Storey. It's kind of a story about Jimmy Storey. The man you see on screen is a legend in the RC hobby. I knew him for a number of years. We worked together for a short period of time in the games industry and outside of it. He was kind of pivotal in getting me back into the hobby 25 years ago. Throughout the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, Jimmy was a familiar face at almost every main international and national race across the country and abroad. He was a phenomenal artist, an incredible photographer, which is what he did, spent a lot of his time doing at the racing, and a real advocate for the hobby. And as I said, I had the pleasure of working with him for a while. We lost Jimmy several years ago now, unfortunately, by his own hand due to chronic pain. And anybody who's familiar with chronic pain knows how bad that can be. He'd had several years of it. He went to lots of different treatments. He tried many things. It was predominantly his back, and I can sympathize as I myself have a bad back, but he was in continuous pain and on lots and lots of medication all the time. And he lost that battle. One of the things that he was famous and infamous for is the Oople forums. He is Mr. Oople. Started out as a hobby-based forum just for like-minded RC fans to chat and discuss their rides and what they were going to race and get hints and tips. And it became a huge global forum, probably one of the biggest at the time for the RC community, and I don't think there's been one ever since, especially since Facebook etc. has come on board and many people use that instead, and you have to search for different groups, whereas, as you'll see in a moment, Oople was for all of RC, and it was an incredibly good format. It still is live, you can still post on it. It doesn't get the traffic that it used to get, but this weekend, 31st of May, which I'm hoping to get this video out for, well, I should do, is when we unfortunately lost Jimmy. So, project cars were something that Jimmy loved doing. I mean, he raced everything. He raced Kyosho's and the JQ car, Team Associates. He raced everything. But Tamiyas were one of his things. And one of the projects that I distinctly remember is this, which is the Ultimate Impact. And it was the new KMC carbon conversion that was available for it, for the Impact chassis. And Jimmy was really hyped up about making this ultimate Tamiya DFO3, and he set out to do so. So he started a couple of posts, got all the stuff together, started to get people's opinions on what would be the best shot combinations. He wanted to try and keep it as top end as possible for it. So all the best Tamiya parts, the best atomic carbon parts, alloy hubs, alloy as much as you can get and still make it race worthy. And here on screen is a picture of the first version of that car. It would evolve over a few months as he got various other bits and bobs, because it was raced. It wasn't just going to be a shelf queen. He did race it, and as you can see here, I don't know if you'd be able to read it, but he was going to power it by a Nostrum batteries and a Nostrum Matrix 5.5 brushless, an incredible, as top end as you could get in 2007, for the car, and it became, one of the big projects that he did over the course of a couple of years. And you saw him racing this at his own race. He was the creator of the Oople Invitational, the International. It ran every year and became a mainstay of the UK and Europe racing scene. You'd have big names turn up, racing like Tom Cottrell and Neil Cragg, Lee Martin. They were all there during their highlights of their careers. I mean, they're still racing today. Lee and Neil are competitive today. But it was mainly for hobbyists. It was created by hobbyists, ran by hobbyists, and the races were for hobbyists. So it wasn't all top end drivers, but he built these kind of cars to be able to do things like that. And one thing that I am incredibly proud of, basically, and one thing that I'm so happy to have is that car. This is the Ultimate Impact. It's only been owned by Jimmy himself, a good friend of mine, Dom, who kind of rescued it, and another couple of other Jimmy's cars in an auction a few years ago. But yeah, this is that atomic carbon, the Ultimate Impact that he set out to build. I've now had this for 4 years, I think, maybe 3.5, 4 years. I got it at the beginning of the pandemic, basically. It was in brilliant condition then, and I've done very little to it. I've stripped it down to give it a bit of a rebuild inside. I want to make sure that everything inside was still running good. Everything was still as keen as it could be. It's a raced car. Jimmy was not into shelf queens, so it has chunks taken out of the diff. I mean, that must have been a heck of an impact. And it's an original paint job by Jimmy. He did all his own bodies and stuff. But one thing I intend to do with this over the next short while, probably for next year, this might become a winter project, is I want to do a new body shell for it, get a new wing for it, and actually get it ready to drive. I know some people wouldn't do that, but Jimmy was about driving cars, not about sitting them on shelves and things like that. And that's kind of where I am with this hobby. I'm about driving them. I don't have shelf queens. I have lots of cars on shelves because I can't drive all of them all at the same time. So there's lots of cars on shelves. But this is an absolute treasure to me, which is one of the reasons why I want to get a new body shell for it. Get some of the parts that are more susceptible to damage and replace the originals with those new ones so that I'm not damaging the original as such. But I'll keep the same KMC chassis, all the atomic carbon parts. The alloy is all still original from when Jimmy built this. It has no power unit. I was thinking about putting in the same kind of hardware and electrics that he would have tried to have got, but some of it's just not available. So I will try and find counterparts for that. Now, I know that some of the reasoning behind the electronics, etc., that Jimmy was going to put into here was because they were blue. I know that doesn't mean much to many, but he wanted to coordinate everything with it. So it's all the same kind of blue anodized hardware. It's got the blue anodized alloy uprights and turnbuckles and hexes, and everything is blue anodized where it's alloy rear hubs. It doesn't have alloy front hubs, but it has alloy C hubs, the alloy heat sinks and everything like that. So The plan is to keep to that design choice and try and find everything blue. Um, which, well, blue is better. LRP, LRP. Yeah, maybe I'll get lots of LRP stuff for it. I'll put in a brushless system as Jimmy had in there. Won't be 5.5. I cannot handle that. I am not a great driver. I enjoy it. Doesn't mean I'm good at it. So this will become kind of my top end vintage racer. I fully intend to take it around some tracks. Tomorrow we'll see a special anniversary race for Jimmy, for Oople, at the Dunfermline RC track up here in Scotland. The Dunfermline track is one of the best in the country, and they held one of the first Oople races several years ago, and they're doing a race tomorrow, which is part of the Scottish Championships, but it's in honour as well of Jimmy. I had intended to go there tomorrow, Saturday the 31st, and take this with me, but life has thrown speed bumps my way, which is one of the reasons why there's not been many videos recently. But I wanted to get this video out for this car, for Jimmy, and to introduce you to a little bit of what he's done in the past. He is greatly missed, and as I said, it is an honour to be the custodian of this brilliant car. It's a phenomenal thing, and I'm so glad that I have this. And he would want it to be driven around a few times, even by an amateur like myself. So we're going to get some. I've already got quite a few DFO3 parts. I have a dark impact, which is basically the same car. I have one of those with. I'm just going to use that as a donor car to be able to replace some of the sections of this that might need it. It now runs brilliantly. It was a little clicky when I got it because it hadn't been maintained for several years. And I've retuned, I've refilled, done all the shocks, so it has a nice stance here. But like I said, it's still got some damage on the front diff cover from an impact. I did check inside to make sure everything's all right, and it is. It's just cosmetic damage. And then it's a case of getting some hardware, getting some electronics and a battery, etc., suitable for this car. In a few years' time, the DFO3 will be considered vintage. You know, this is. I think it might be 20 years old. The chassis. It might have come out in 2005. It might be 2005. I'm going to have to double check on that. But it will soon become a vintage chassis. And I would love to be able to take this to like an iconic cup or something and maybe dawdle around with it and see what happens. But anyway, I think that's enough for now. The car is, you know, it's in wonderful condition now, and it has every possible hop up that you can get for this that makes it suitable for racing. And it is a thing to behold. It's lovely. It's my favourite chassis that I own. Not necessarily my favourite to drive because I haven't driven it yet, but it's certainly my favourite to own. I like driving my actual Dark Impact. It's quite a good car. I've raced that a few times in the past. And I just assume this will be better handling because it's got a much better stance, much better shocks, and it's more rigid, so it's much more of a racer. So yeah, I'm gonna call it for there. Jimmy is missed massively by many and by myself. I had a great time working with him and chatting with him, and he was a good friend, and I do miss him We've lost too many people over the last few years in our hobby. He and Dan Rowlands, who was also an incredibly good friend of mine, who we lost a few years ago as well to cancer. Both legends in the RC hobby and always will be. As always, thank you for watching. If you're at Dunfermline tomorrow on Saturday the 31st, or today whenever this video comes out, I still might be there, but it's unclear. It'll be a shame to miss it, but there's other things that's happening at the moment that will take precedence over that. So there's some more videos coming. I've done a whole series of build videos to do with a wheelie project, which I talked about earlier, and I now have just quickly, I now have one of those classic Grasshopper with a 380 motor for Club 380 racing, with a 20 kilogram servo. Probably a little bit too much, but you know, it's what I had. 20 kilogram servo, madness. So I might do some more videos about that. I've got another couple of things in the pipeline. I expect to hopefully get a video out at least once a month, maybe once every couple of weeks at the moment, but I'll have to see how things go. Anyway, thank you, Jimmy, for all you did for me and for RC, and you are missed very much. And to everyone else out there in RC land, stay safe and have fun with RC, and hopefully you might have an amazing car like this as well. But thanks again. Bye now.